So you're cursed with being highly ambitious but very, very lazy. Let me guess, you're on your third coffee today, staring at your massive to-do list, while your brain is literally begging for a nap. I was in your shoes last week, sitting in an important meeting when I had to excuse myself to fall asleep in the office bathroom for 10 minutes. If you're nodding along thinking, girl, this is literally me, keep watching because we need to talk about what actually works when you're building an empire. But your body's like, ma'am, we need a break. No perfect routines, just real solutions for ambitious women who need rest. Let's get real about something for a minute. Why do we feel so dang guilty about resting when we have big dreams? I mean, I know I'm not the only one who's laid down for a nap and had my brain immediately go, excuse me? Successful people don't nap in the middle of the day. Here's what's actually going on. First, we're getting completely mixed signals. Open Instagram, and what do you see? One post telling you to hustle harder, right next to another preaching about self-care. Like, make it make sense. We're supposed to somehow work 24/7 and take luxurious bubble baths while doing face masks? And don't even get me started on LinkedIn. Everyone's sharing their 5 a.m. routines and grinding success stories, but nobody's posting about their 3 p.m. energy crashes or weekend recovery time. It's like we're only seeing highlight reels of other people's productivity and comparing it to our behind-the-scenes struggles. But here's something wild that science actually tells us. High achievers often feel more tired than others, and there's a really good reason for it. Your ambitious brain is literally using more energy. When you're constantly planning, creating, problem-solving, and pushing yourself to learn new things, you're using up a ton of mental energy. Think of your brain like a phone, running multiple apps at once. Of course, the battery drains faster. Let's bust some common myths real quick. Being tired doesn't mean you're lazy. Taking breaks doesn't mean you're not committed. Needing rest isn't a sign of weakness. Working longer hours doesn't automatically mean better results. In fact, some research shows that our brains can only handle about 4 to 5 hours of focused, creative work per day, not 8 hours, definitely not 12. And those super successful people who claim they only sleep 4 hours a night, either they're not telling the whole truth, or they're part of a tiny percentage of people with a rare genetic mutation. For the rest of us, we need actual rest to function. The truth is, productivity isn't about pushing through exhaustion. It's about working with your body's natural rhythms, not against them. And sometimes that means taking a nap, going for a walk, or just staring at the wall for 10 minutes while your brain recharges. Think of it this way. You wouldn't expect your phone to run forever without charging it, so why do we expect that from ourselves? Oh, and if you're already nodding along thinking, girl, this is literally me right now, do me a quick favor and hit subscribe. We're going to be having these real conversations about ambition and actually making it sustainable every week, and I'd love to have you here. Plus, liking the video helps other tired, ambitious women find it too. And let's be honest, we all need this conversation. Let's talk about something I know is on your mind. That question of, am I actually tired or am I just being lazy? I see you overthinking this, and we need to clear something up right now. Here's what being an ambitious woman who needs rest actually looks like. And trust me, you're going to recognize yourself in this. You know those days when you're crushing it at work, handling complex projects like a boss? But then someone asks you what you want for dinner and your brain just stops working? That's not you being lazy, babe. That's your brain telling you it's used up all its decision-making energy on the important stuff. It's like when your phone hits 1%. You just can't do it all anymore. And let me guess, you're probably that person who redoes things 3 times because they're not perfect enough? Yeah, that perfectionism is exhausting. You're not just doing the work, you're doing it while that little voice in your head is running a full commentary track. Of course you're tired. The really fun part? Your ambitious brain never really shuts off, does it? You're planning your week while brushing your teeth, thinking about your 5-year goals in the shower, and solving work problems during your commute. That mental hamster wheel. It's running 24/7, and let's be real, you're not just focused on one thing. Between your career goals, that side hustle you're building, your personal development, and trying to have some kind of social life, girl, you're juggling enough to tire out a circus performer. Want to know how I know you're not just being lazy? Look for these signs. Your body is exhausted, but your mind won't stop racing. Simple decisions feel impossible, but you can still handle big projects. Little things that never bothered you before are suddenly driving you crazy. Here's your reality check. Lazy people don't worry about being lazy. They don't watch videos about productivity. They don't feel guilty about taking breaks, and they definitely don't have a running list of goals and dreams that keeps them up at night. So if you're sitting there worried about being lazy, congratulations, you're just an ambitious woman who needs to recharge, and we're about to talk about exactly how to do that. Now that we know we're not just being lazy, let's talk about what actually works. And spoiler alert, it's not about trying to function on less sleep or chugging more coffee. Here's what really changed things for me. Understanding that energy management is way more important than time management. Think about it. How many times have you stared at your perfectly organized calendar but felt too exhausted to actually do anything on it? That's because we've been focusing on the wrong thing. You know those days when you get more done in 2 focused hours than in an entire 8-hour stretch? That's what I'm talking about. Your energy, not your time, is the real currency here. And just like money, you need to invest it wisely. Let's talk about something that nobody mentions: your personal energy patterns. Everyone keeps labeling themselves as morning people or night owls, but it's actually way more interesting than that. Your energy typically flows in 90-minute cycles throughout the day. And understanding your own pattern is like finding a cheat code for productivity. Here's what made the biggest difference in my life. Start paying attention to your natural rhythms. Just for a week, notice. When do you naturally feel most alert? What time of day do your best ideas come? When do you usually hit that wall? Once you understand your patterns, you can stop fighting them and start using them. Like, why are we all scheduling important meetings at 3 p.m. when most of us are ready for a nap? It's like trying to run a marathon right after eating Thanksgiving dinner. It just doesn't make sense. The real game changer? Understanding that rest isn't a reward for being productive, it's what makes productivity possible. Think of it like working out. Stay with me here. You don't get stronger during the workout. You get stronger during the recovery. Your brain works the same way. This whole approach has completely changed how I structure my days. Instead of forcing myself to power through when my energy is low, I now plan around my natural peaks and dips. And you know what? I'm getting more done while feeling less exhausted. Imagine that. Hey, and before we continue, if you're loving this honest conversation about ambition and energy, I have something for you. Click the first link in the description to join my email community. I send out weekly doses of real-world advice and strategies that actually work for ambitious women like us. Think of it as getting insider tips from a friend who totally gets your struggles. Let's figure this out together. Let's get into what actually works in real life, because knowing you need rest is one thing, but making it work when you have a million things to do, that's where it gets interesting. First, let's talk about the power nap, aka your new secret weapon. I know what you're thinking. If I nap, I'll wake up confused and groggy and mess up my whole day. But here's the thing, a strategic rest is completely different from those accidental 3-hour naps we've all fallen into. The key is timing it right. Here's what really works. Keep it to exactly 20 minutes. Aim for between 1 and 4 p.m. Find a quiet spot. Your car works if you're at the office. Now, about managing your energy throughout the day. Instead of trying to schedule every minute, which we all know never works anyway, think about your day in 90-minute blocks. This is how long your brain can actually focus before it needs a break. And no, scrolling through Instagram doesn't count as a break. I know. I was disappointed too. One game-changing trick I've learned is matching tasks to your energy level. When you're feeling sharp and focused, that's when you tackle the big stuff. Important meetings, creative work, anything that needs your full brain power. Save the easy stuff, like checking emails or organizing files, for when your energy naturally dips. It's like finally putting the right puzzle pieces together. Something that's helped me enormously with the guilt of resting is what I call the permission slip technique. It sounds a bit silly, but hear me out. When you feel bad about taking a break, just write down why you need it and what it will help you achieve. It's like giving yourself official permission to be human. My favorite part of all this is what I call the restart button technique. We've all had those days where nothing seems to go right. Instead of writing off the whole day, here's your 15-minute emergency routine. Step outside for fresh air. Do some quick movement to wake up. Drink water and grab a healthy snack. Start fresh without beating yourself up. Think of it as a mini fresh start, because who says your day can only start in the morning? The key isn't to never get tired. It's to know how to bounce back when you do. Let's talk about something that's been messing with all our heads. This idea that success means being on 24/7. Because honestly, that's not just unrealistic. It's actually holding us back from real success. You know what's funny? When I started interviewing actually successful women, I mean really successful, not just Instagram successful, I noticed something interesting. None of them were pulling those crazy 24/7 hustle schedules they talk about online. Instead, they were really intentional about how they use their energy. Let me share what I learned from one CEO I spoke with recently. She told me something that blew my mind. I don't make any important decisions after 3 p.m. At first, I thought she was joking, but then she explained that she knows her brain best processes complex information in the morning. So she protects that time like it's gold. In the afternoon, that's when she does her relationship building, her creative thinking, her planning, all the stuff that actually needs a more relaxed brain. Now, let's talk about boundaries, because this is where things get real. How do you tell your boss, your clients, or even your friends that you're not available 24/7? Here's what's worked for me. First, you frame it in terms of results. Instead of saying, I need more rest, you say, I've noticed I deliver my best work when. People respect that because it shows you're thinking about quality, not just trying to work less. Second, and this is crucial, you need to get comfortable with other people's discomfort. Some people won't get it at first. They might make comments or try to make you feel guilty. But remember, their reaction is about their relationship with work, not about you. Here's what sustainable ambition actually looks like. Understanding that rest makes you more effective, not less ambitious. Recognizing that your worth isn't tied to your productivity. Knowing when to push and when to pause. Building success that lasts, not just success that looks good on Instagram. One of my favorite quotes comes from this woman who built a 7-figure business from scratch. She said, "Success isn't about how long you can go without stopping. It's about how well you can pace yourself for the long run." That hit different, didn't it? Because here's the truth. You're not trying to sprint to some finish line. You're building something sustainable, something that can last. And just like any good investment, that requires both growth and recovery periods. All right, let's make this super practical. Because knowing all this is great, but making it work in real life, that's where the magic happens. I want to share what a realistic day actually looks like when you're balancing ambition with your body's needs. And no, this isn't one of those, I wake up at 4 a.m. and drink celery juice routines. This is real life. Let me walk you through how I restructured my day after learning all this. First thing to understand, your most ambitious tasks should align with your peak energy. For most of us, that's within the first few hours after we're fully awake. Not right when you roll out of bed, but after you've had a chance to actually wake up properly. Here's what this might look like. Start your day with what I call a power block. 90 minutes of focused work on your most important task. The key here is no distractions. Your emails can wait, trust me. The world won't end if you don't check them first thing. Then comes what I like to call the maintenance block. This is when you do your meetings, respond to messages, handle the regular day-to-day stuff. Your brain is still fresh enough to engage, but you've already knocked out your most important work. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They try to power through the afternoon slump. Instead, I want you to plan for it. That 2 to 4 p.m. period, that's when you do your lighter tasks, your creative thinking, maybe even take that strategic rest we talked about earlier. But what about when things get crazy busy? Because let's be real, sometimes life throws everything at you at once. This is where having an energy emergency plan comes in handy. Think of it like a crisis management plan, but for your energy levels. When I'm in a high-pressure period, like launching a new project or handling a big deadline, I actually schedule fewer hours of work. Sounds counterintuitive, right? But here's why it works. When you're under pressure, you need your brain operating at its best. You can't afford to be foggy or making mistakes because you're exhausted. The most important thing to remember is that this isn't about following someone else's perfect schedule. It's about creating rhythms that work for you. Start small, experiment, and pay attention to what makes you feel energized versus drained. Remember, this is a practice. Some days will flow beautifully and others will feel like a mess. That's normal. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. By the way, do you want more honest conversations like this? Join our email community of ambitious women by clicking the first link below. I share my best tips and behind-the-scenes insights there first, plus some extra special content I don't share anywhere else. You definitely don't want to miss out on what's coming next. Drop a comment below. What's your biggest struggle with balancing ambition and rest? Let's figure this out together. And hey, if you found this helpful, hit subscribe for more real talk about making success actually sustainable. Next week's video is going to be good. Until then, go take that nap. Doctor's orders. Till next time, XOXO Power Girl.